Greetings, Kerbal Nauts. Welcome back to another video for Kerbal Space Program. Been looking around a lot of people's videos over the last 3 months, 4 months, God knows how long. It's I can't remember when I first started watching videos for Kerbal Space Program, and God knows how long it's been since I started playing it. Anyway, a lot of people still doing weird and bizarre launch stages for various craft, and I'm scratching my head. Especially the heavy lifters. It's like, what the hell? So I thought I would do a tutorial, basically step-by-step walkthrough on how to do was basically lifting, ascent and orbit stages for a variety of payloads, let's put it that way. Now I'm going to do one for a heavy lift, or heavier lift, I should say, considering some of the giganimous ones that I've seen go up. Of course, you've got the new parts coming out in the 23.5, which I am eagerly awaiting. Hint, hint. Yes, so you can go really huge, but I'm going to use my probably one of my favourite sort of tanks at the moment. No, it doesn't go boom. It's an orange tank. So let's take a look. We're going to go into the VAB. So going to walk through doing a heavier lifter. Now this isn't the only way of doing it. I'm sure there are plenty of different ways of doing it, as long as my arm. But here we go. So we're going to take a 3-man command pod, and we're going to shove it up there. Not going to worry about parachutes, not going to worry about batteries, crap like that. Not going to worry about it, because you can design this any way you want to. 1, 2. Now when you're designing these things, you have to remember you're doing them backwards. So basically, last stage first. So take a mainsail for me. Right, that there I would consider to be my standard circularization stage. Basically, that's what I would use for circularizing my orbit once I'm into space. So, as I said, last bit first. Now, what we want is a basically ascent stage. This is the bit that's dragging you or throwing you or pushing you through the atmosphere, driving you straight up as you curve over. Yeah. So go in here, grab the radial decoupler. Now I'm sure this is going to cause a debate, but I use 8 of them. And then go back, get some more orange tanks. Now, the orange tanks line up. Give me a second. Okay, normally they line up. There we go. Come on. There we go. Now, I'm sure people will whinge and complain and say they're overlapping and blah 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 blah. So, yeah, the game allows it. I haven't made any changes. Now, the only issue that you're going to have with things overlapping is that quite often it really doesn't want to add parts to it, like this. See what the issue is? Yeah, doesn't want to do it, does it? There's a way around that. We go back to this stage, start off with single. And then we chuck a single orange on, like this. Go grab your mainsail, like that. Hey, presto, don't you just love it? Now, if you go to here and grab, right, what I recommend doing is dropping there and then picking it back up again. Reason being is that if you're not careful, it screws up down here. It does a single engine and then a group of 7. So hold it there on your centre section, which is your circularisation section, and whack the X key. That's 4. You can see the because it's semi-transparent, you can see it's got 4 on there. There's 6, and there's the group of 8. Lift it up a touch. There we go. Yep, that's reasonably flat. So when you launch this now, right, you've got that centre engine going last. Well, we don't want to do that. You could, but we don't want to do that. Right, so what would happen with it like this is, obviously these 8 outer engines will burn out before the centre section. Now that'll get you, well, because it's so light, it'll get you into orbit. But there is another way of doing it which gives you an extended burn time. How do you do it? Let me show you. You use external fuel ducts, or fuel pipes, whatever you want to call them. Okay, normally I just like tuck them away so you can't really see them and whatnot, but in this case I'm going to do it so that I can show you. Select single mode, and we're going to start with twosies. Yeah, I know. Basically we're going to drop the tanks in 2s, right, rather than say 3s or 4s or whatever we're running. So click there on this one, click onto the bottom tank. Oh god, really? Just bear with me. Are you? There we go. Right. What happens with these, you can see the arrows there, right? These fuel pipes, right, will take the fuel from here and transfer them into this one, the direction that the arrows are on the pipes. So not only will this one tank here be drained by its engine, but it will also maintain both these tanks being full. Right. Now what that allows you to do is to run all the engines from a single tank and then drop that tank off, and then it will start burning from here. So if we do a double as mentioned, there we go. Now those 2 tanks will be depleted extremely quickly because there's effectively 3 engine bells being drawn off them. Now, what you can also do is then take one from here and not do that. Really? Okay, I'm going to put them on the outside. at the top. Do that. So what happens is, this centre stack draws from this, and this draws from that one. So this one is being drawn not only from that tank, but from this tank as well, and its own engine bell. So let's go a bit further and put one on there. And one on there. Right, now we go around to the other side and go here and here. There we go. Right, so this tank here, because of how we have these pipes, transfer pipes, they will automatically transfer the fuel round. So this tank here will be the first one to be emptied, because all the other tanks around the right hand side will be drawn from that tank first, and then it's this tank, then this tank, then this tank, and then finally the engine bell in the centre will use the stack of fuel that it's got there between these two. So then what we need to do is we need to drop this tank first with the first spacebar, this tank with the second spacebar, this one with the third spacebar, and this one with the fourth, when they're empty of course. Now if you look here, they've just all been grouped together. We want to start all the engines at the same time, then we get the maximum thrust. That is our lifting stage and basically our ascent stage. Right? So the lifting stage has all the engines going at once. Right? Now in a lifting stage you may want solid rocket boosters as well, which is fine. Kick them all off at the same time. That's what that's what lift stage is for. It lifts off the ground up to about 5,000 will be solid rockets. Anyway, in order to find that, you need to split those separators here. So what you need to do, yes, I think it's 4, find them in here. You see the one that's gone white in there, so you grab that, this one's the first one. There we go. Now you move round, that one there is going to be the second one. Which one is it? Number 2 from the top. And there. And this one here. Now on. There, which is the top one. To go there. And the last one that we drop, which is just so happens to be that singular one. Just kind of expecting that. Now, because we're dropping them in pairs, you don't have to drop them in pairs, drop them in 3s, but remember, if you're dropping them in 3s, then you want 3 groups of fuel pipes coming in to the centre. Right, I've got 2 at the moment, as you can see. Right, if you drop the tanks in 3s, you want 3 of them coming into the centre. Right, but anyway, I'm dropping them in 2s. Oops, don't want to do that. Oh well. Right, so we find this one, which is that one. Oh, that one will be the first one to be emptied, and then behave. I'll go find that one. To there. hover over that one, and which one is it? The bottom one again. And this one, by powers of deduction, goes there. There we go. So you drop them in twos every time, because we're running in twos. And hey presto. Now, you know, I'm going to show you how this goes up. So we're going to want a way to recover our Kerbals, because I'm not exactly in favour of killing Kerbals these days. Not if I can help it anyway. So now I'm going to do my favourite trick, which is the halo opening. I do kind of enjoy doing it. I'm also going to put on some spotlights, point them straight down. Don't know what sort of condition I'm going to be launching in. Now, I haven't put any RCS on. Really not going to bother. Right, 8 parachutes, that'll do us. One thing that you may wish to do, depending on the payload, you may wish to put some winglets on. Probably not completely necessary, but some people might want them. And don't forget, for launching, some launch clamps. Come on. Like that. Now what you can do, which I'm going to show you here, this one here, this tank here, and the one directly opposite are the first ones to go. You can put a slightly a bigger tank on, or an extra tank I should say, like that one. If you make sure it's in singular mode, like that, and then manually put one on the other side, and that'll give you a little bit longer for the initial lift. I'm just going to call it 1. Now this sort of stage has kind of been nicknamed the Asparagus staging. Not quite sure who did it off the top of my head, but apparently it looked like an asparagus. Well, whichever. Make sure I don't run out of power. Just 4 solar panels on the pod. A 1K battery, and we should be good and ready to go. But we also need to sort out our staging. Because if you have a look, the game hasn't really done a very good job of staging. So let's move it around. Parachutes. Guess what? We don't want them to go off at that point. We want them to go off last. Vertical separator there. And that's how we do it. So we're firing up all the engines here and releasing the launch clamps. Then we knock off that tank and its opposite, and then it goes to that tank and its opposite, then that tank and its opposite, and finally this tank and its opposite. Right, we're up to stage 3. Stage 2. Stage 1, once we've circularised with those 2 centre tanks, we then separate that and just leave us with the pod. So I'm going to show you. I've got a pretty good idea what's going to happen here. So let's have some fun. There we go, sat on the launch pad. Yeah. Well, at least we didn't kill anyone. Bill Bob. You know what we forgot? Yep. The bigger you build, the more space tape you're going to need. So, how do you take these up? Well, switch to 8 times symmetry again. And the way that I recommend for this is in doubles. Now, annoyingly, the launch clamps are in the way, so we'll have to put them back in a minute. And because we're in symmetry, it's done the ones all the way around the tanks as well. Now what you also need to do is the ones going into the centre. Doesn't have to be perfect, but as symmetrical as you can get on those two sides. And it automatically puts those two in. And you'll notice, because those two tanks have got the extra tank on the top of it, it hasn't put the struts in. So on these, you can go ahead and just do it manually. Now because these are a bigger tank, you may wish to use 3 on that one. You don't have to, but I find it's a little bit more stable. And there we go. Shall we test it? Make sure when you're putting launch clamps in, a little tip for you, make sure any winglets won't go anywhere near them, because taking winglets off because they've clipped on launch clamps is really annoying. I remember back when I was playing the demo version on bigger launch stages, I used to take the wing tips off when I clip the tower as I'm leaving it. That just gets annoying. As you can see, no boom bang or boom, or boom bang, or bang boom. None of that. Yeah, kind of boring. Nothing in space. This will be the first launch ever. So we're going to go ahead and throttle up to max. We're going to turn the SAS on. No point in putting the RCS on because we don't have any RCS. Let's have a look at the resources. So, staging on the left. I've just realised it's put the launch clamps in the wrong place. So, we can move them while we're here. We're going to go ahead and throttle up, and then we're going to whack spacebar and go for a fly. Up she goes. Now we've got it set at max thrust rather, but we're going to throttle back any moment. Right about there. Right, as you can see on the left hand side, tanks are depleting faster than others. If I get rid of the nav ball, there you go. You can see 2 engines have already quit. That's these, as expected. Right, and still going up again. Don't just hate it getting interrupted when you're trying to do a tutorial. I'm just going to go straight up here, but obviously you'd be looking to curve over at some point. Now, this tank's now depleted, and there we go, we can just drop it straight off. And we're just left with 5 engines going up. Winglets rather, are keeping us nice and straight at the moment. See, that tank's going down, that one isn't. That tank's going down, and they aren't. So that's 15,000. If you're doing a really heavy launch, then you'd be looking to go over at about 20,000. There we go. We're now down to 3 engines, but should be about 20,000 by now. And bring up the nav ball. And go 45 at 90 degrees, assuming a standard orbit, of course. Now you notice this thing does start spinning around. Not quite sure why the hell that is, considering I use symmetry, but oh well. So that's 35,000, and we change to orbit mode on the nav ball automatically. Oh, that would be a failure. Did I go too quick? Let's have a look at F3 on this. Structural failure and linkage between Recamax Jumbo 64 fuel tank and TT70 radial decoupler. Basically the tank's separated. Great. Worse still, we've got structural failure as well. Another one. Yeah, there's a failure with the decoupler. This is going to be fun. Launch all the stages and we're stuck to the top of the rocket. Isn't that just typical? Gotta wait for the rocket to burn out. Helpful. How are we doing anyway? Oh well, don't you just love things failing when you're trying to do a tutorial? Right, normally with this stage you'd be circularising your orbit by now. We're above 70,000, even though we're spinning round and round and round endlessly. What can I say? Jeb's loving it. Bob's probably filling up his diaper. And I think Bill is getting there. Anyway, hopefully this guide on how to do the Asparagus staging and sort of heavier launches. Remember to use plenty of space tape. There we go. And that just goes to show how much things actually broke here. So even without circularising with those two tanks, we still got 75,000, which is always a good thing. So, plenty of space tape, and you'll keep tanks on until you need them. Hopefully this will be of use to people that are figuring out how to do their staging. Now you can add another ring onto those tanks, which I'm going to show you in the next video. You don't have to use the big orange tanks for this. You can use any fuel tank. I don't even think it's limited to liquid fuel. I believe you can do it with the other fuel types as well, if you're using like the Interstellar mod. Other than that, play around with those fuel lines. Remember which way the arrows go, otherwise that could have some interesting consequences if you got it the wrong way around. One thing that you might want to try out is how much can a single mainsail actually lift. And there's the low opening parachutes, my favourite. So check out how much a mainsail can actually lift. It's just over 2 orange tanks full of fuel, as a rough guide. I personally I use the 2 orange tanks plus payload for circularisation, and then single orange fuel tanks and mainsails for each of the staging as I'm going up to pick up speed. Obviously there are different ways of doing it. Feel free to experiment. Don't just take my word for it, go and try it. And if you have any questions, feel free to shout. I'm CW, and today we didn't crash hard, and please don't follow me and crash. Bye for now.